Okay, our next video is going to talk about a little bit about complex data structures, as well as how the structures can be passed to and returned from procedures. So just like variables and arrays, structures and arrays of structures can be passed to and from procedures. Make sure to use by_ref if you want to change the structure in the procedure to be reflected back in the main program. And in general, although the arrays tend to be passed by reference automatically, I encourage you to use by_ref as well, as you'll see in the next set of videos when we talk about two-dimensional arrays, that this automatic by reference passing sort of didn't seem to work. So at any rate, if you want the change to an array of structures, two-dimensional array, or really anything for that matter, to be reflected back in the main program, please use by_ref, as we've done so far. Okay, so we will briefly demonstrate how to pass the entire loans array of structures to a function and return a subset of loans filtered by type, just like we did in the previous videos, right? So for example, 12 mortgage loans, and then we'll show only 3 out of 10 columns. Okay, so that's going to be another array of structures that will have 3 columns and 12 rows, right? And then will be displayed as such in the grid from the main procedure or the button click event. We will conclude our discussion of data structures right on this slide at the bottom part of it by briefly talking about the complex data structures. Okay, and noting that those complex data structures can have arrays and even other structures as its members. Okay, so instead of just a single rate of and payment for more complex variable rate loans, we could have array of interest rates and payments instead. Instead of just borrower's name, our loan structure could include as its member a borrower of more complex data type called borrower, with first, last name, income, marital status, whatever else. Okay, which of course would be a data structure called borrower that's within our loan data structure. So in other words, a data structure within a data structure, right? So that makes it a little bit more complex. So having these more complex data types like arrays and data structures within data structures makes for fairly complex data types that it can be used to sort of implement a number of difficult business scenarios. In this class, however, we are not likely to use such complex data structures. In other words, we will probably most likely stick with the data structure whose members are simple variables like integer, string, or date, or double. Okay, so now going back to the demonstration of passing to and from passing data structures, or arrays of data structures for that matter, to and from the procedures using a function in our calculator payment example. So the first thing I want to do is I want to scroll to the top of the click event and add a couple of more variables. The first one is going to be dim num loan types of as integer right there. Okay, so that number or that variable represents 12 for those 12 mortgages, 7 for those 7 car loans, and 8 for those 8 other loans. So that's the number I'm going to use as a variable. And then I'm going to have dim loans type, open close parentheses, okay, as loans. So this is right now unsized array of a loan data structure, and what it will be eventually, it will contain those 12 mortgage loans with 3 columns showing last name, amount, and monthly payments. So think of it that way. Think of it as a subset or subtable of that large loan table with all of the data, all 10 attributes and all 25 loans. So that's what these two will be. And this one, this loans type array of structures, of loan structures specifically, will be returned from a function, okay, which comes down next right here at the bottom after the and sub for the click event. So we'll have the function called loan types. Okay, now what we'll pass to it is that loans array structure as loan. Okay, so this is a little tricky. You gotta pay attention So it does need these open close parentheses because that indicates it's going to be array rather than a single data structure variable. So it's an array of data structures versus what this would be a single single data structure variable. Okay, it's of type loan, so we know it has those 10 attributes from loan ID, first last name, all the way to monthly payment. Okay, the return of the function is even more interesting. The return of the function is a loan, but to indicate that it's an array, just like with the double that we used in our previous videos or so, it's going to have open close parentheses as well. So this gets a little tricky. When to put parentheses, what not to put parentheses. You sort of have to feel it out. Number one. Number two, the Visual Studio is fairly is relatively good in catching catching those types of syntax errors. If you miss the parentheses where you should have them, have had them, right, or not including them to begin with, right, or including them if you didn't have to include them, I should say. Okay, so the function essentially replicates the functionality of the button click event over here. Okay, so we're going to do it relatively quickly with some copy paste. We'll declare quickly an integer variable that's going to use the loans array of structure we passed to it to count how many loans do we have altogether, which is again our 25, which is then going to be used to size the local array of structures loans type. I have to have an S, otherwise it's going to complain the conflict with the function name. So loans type, I could have used something like LT or whatever of n minus 1. So again, think of this as loan as that subset of 12 mortgage loans with 3 columns in them showing last name, amount, and monthly payment. I'm going to have a integer variable that I'm going to need for the loop. Okay, so I'm going to start, and this J variable is essentially going to count those 12 mortgage loans or 7 car loans or 8 others starting with 0. I'm going to go through all the loans to get to those to n minus 1. Okay, and I'm going to go and test essentially if loans of I dot data not that data type, sorry, dot loans type, loan type. Okay, that's the same condition we had in the click event upstairs. If that matches what the user typed into txt text box, then we got ourselves a match, and we're going to add this instead of directly to the grid, we're going to add it to this sort of temporary or local array of structures loans type of J. Okay, starting with the first one, which is at 0, equal, I'm sorry, and we have to do this, member by member. Last name equals loans of I dot last name. So this I here could be, I don't know, 3, right? So the first mortgage loan is loan number 3 or 4 or whatever. Okay, so you can't assign loans type of J equal loans type of I. It doesn't work like that. You have to do it member by member. The same goes with if you have numerical member with comparisons less than, greater than, equal to, and so forth. So luckily we don't want all 10. We only want 3, which are the amount and monthly payment at the end. Okay, so now again, this local temporary loans type array of structures, right, it's using really only 3 of its members, last name, amount, and monthly payment. The rest of them that are within this data structure loan, loan ID, first name, first name, city, whatever else is there, is just simply not used. Okay, and they're all either blanks or zeros, and since we're not going to use them, we don't really care. Okay, the memory is allocated to them, so this is not necessarily the most efficient way to go about it. Okay, once the first one of these mortgage or car loans, whichever one is selected as assigned. We increment, the index, go to the next loan, and keep going until we pick them all up. Okay, and then simply what we do at the end, okay, we redimension this loans type because we have to have it, but we want to preserve all this, all the stuff that we did. Okay, so loans type with j minus 1. So the last j is going to be 13 for those 12, I guess 12, 13 for those 12 mortgages, and 9 for those 8 other loans, and 8 for those 7, I don't know, whatever. We need one minus, right? And then we're going to redimension it. Okay, and then we're going to return it. The entire loans type. Okay, so we return the entire loans type array of structures, right? So it's an array, okay, because of the index j, right? It probably has 12 mortgages, or again 7 car loans or whatever, and it is of type loan, so it's a structure as well, so it has both of those sort of elements. Okay, and then we're going to go back over here. First we're going to sort of comment. I don't want to delete it, so I'll just comment out the original way we've done the same thing, and then we're just going to loop now through this local, to this returned array, okay, by calling the function first, right? So we're going to then assign the loans type, which is now local to the click procedure, right? It's a different loans type than this one. This is local to that function, and we're going to assign that guy over here, loans type, okay, loan type of loans, simply, right? So we'll pass this entire, think of it, 25 times 10 array of structures to the function, which pares it down to, if it's mortgages, 12 times 3, right? 12 mortgage loans, and then 3 pieces of info, last name, amount, and monthly payment on it, back to it. And then we have it, and then we just have to loop through this guy and add it to the grid, okay, which is essentially what we're doing here, the same thing. So there might be a little bit of a copy paste there as well. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to copy paste it here. I'm going to remove the comment, but I need to change, obviously. I don't want to use the loans. Okay, I want to go from, doesn't matter if it's I or J. I don't want to go through all 25 loans. I want to go through all num loans, loan types, which will be 12 for mortgages, 7 for car loans, and then instead of loans we have loans type. And we don't need the if function. That was the whole purpose of it, right? So okay, so here, loans type, loans type, loans type. Num loan types is loan type dot count. Weird, I thought I did it. How about now? Yay, there you go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 car loans. Other 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I guess there were 6. And then mortgage. It was mort. Okay, we got all those mortgage loans. Yeah, I believe it's right. Okay, so all this work to sort of, introduce this concept of functions or procedures in general that accept arrays of structures and return arrays of structures. All right, clearly for this example we've done all this just with a for loop combined with the if statement here as well. Okay, so we'll switch back to the presentation and take a break.